This is FanSpeak, a weekly live show where the fans of comics and its community are our guests. Hello, everybody, and here we go. It is FanSpeak. It is Saturday. It is 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and everyone is ready to get into what we got to talk today about, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I do see we have Jordan in the Hey, hi, Jordan. He says, "Hey, Chester, just popped in to put a like. Having awesome streams, dude." Oh, thank you very much. We got Roger Heller as usual. Hello, sir. And he says, "All right, it's Saturday, the best day of the week, and it's a great way to spend an afternoon with some great people talking comics." Yeah, dude, and we are going to get into some comics, absolutely. So welcome, guys. Do keep in mind we have a bunch of links down below. We'd love for you guys to check those out, please. Of course, one of the best ones there is to check out what we're doing over on FanSpeak on Facebook, and definitely become part of that community if you haven't. There's tons of stuff over there. People are putting in information of their books, the reviews, movie ideas, all kind of stuff, man. It's a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying it. And I love the free nature of it too, because a lot of these Facebook groups are really strict. They don't let you talk about anything, and we don't have those problems over here. So come be part of that if you haven't already. Of course, another very important thing to do, because we are live streamers, is to go ahead and hit that share button and let your family and friends and extended community know what's going on, so they can come over here and join us live for FanSpeak. And we're going to have some fun today. We're going to be talking to Preston about his White Lily #4. We're also going to be doing some news as usual. So let me come over here and say hello to the panelists, and then we'll get into things. First, of course, we have the Canadian, the most Canadian of all Canadians. It is George. He's not even a Canuck, though. So he's,
That's
I don't know,
right.
maybe he's half a Canadian. I don't know.
No, I'm full Canuck. I'm all bacon.
You are? Okay. My grandmother didn't like the Canucks. She said, "Watch out for them." Yeah.
What is a Canuck?
It's a French
I mean,
Canadian.
Oh, French Canadian. Okay, got it.
Yeah, French Canadian.
Canuck is a very bad word. It's like the N word for Canadians, but
It is.
we own it. We
It
own
is.
it.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it is. And you had to watch out for my grandma, because she'd stroke you right in the chin, man, if you got out of line there. My grandma was quick with a fist, man. Yeah, she didn't like them Canucks very much. I didn't blame her, though. See, you have to understand, we New Englanders, we got some Canadians to the north, but we kind of all consider ourselves to be exactly the same, because the problems we have is, to the west of us, we have Quebec, and they just never shut up. And then to the south of us, we have New York, and they just never shut up. So we New Englanders are just surrounded by very annoying people. It's horrible. It's horrible.
That's a very small problem. I mean, the majority of the problem in Canada is the bipolar bears.
Oh, right.
They just don't know. They just don't know whether they're coming or going.
That's true. And unfortunately, really unfortunately, Al Gore was completely wrong, because we have more polar bears now than we've ever had. And they're just deadly killing machines. They're horrible. It would have been nice if global warming had knocked them out, right? Right, George?
Absolutely. Right now, we got a couple outside the door.
Yeah, no, they're horrible, man. You got to watch out for the polar bears. You got to watch out for those musai as well. Those things are dangerous. They just charge unprovoked. They're horrible, and they leave very large piles of feces as well.
Have you seen the Russian polar bears? I mean, those guys know how to take the subway.
They do. It's horrible, dude. Boy, that's a lot of inside humor, George. Awesome. Okay. I wish Todd was here, because he'd get it. But anyway, thank you, George. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, German's here.
I know he is. That's awesome. We got to get to him in a moment and let him do his thing. I do hope he's suited up and ready. Now, of course, we do have, as you hear speaking, we have Dinale. How you doing, Dinale?
I'm doing fantastic. If the power goes out, it's because we have a tropical storm hitting us. So we're all good. Everything's good.
Well, it's
fine.
the season.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great, man. We do have another typhoon coming our way, but it's a pretty small one, so I don't think it'll be much problem. But it's that time of year. It is what it is. Of course, we will be getting to Preston momentarily, guys, but we most certainly have to first have the chairman's address.
Why, good day, my good host there, Chester and Dinale. George and Preston. Thank you all for being here. Thank all the fans for being here. And something happened to me today, throughout this week, while I was thinking about the chairman's address.
Mhm.
And what occurred to me was how much the independent comics group really has going on in all these places. And unfortunately, with it has come drama. And people have been, we discuss one thing. Well, we like this, we like that. No, I like something better than you do. And what occurred to me was what is that we have actual real diversity. Diversity is one of those things that has become a push, that it's an agenda. I have the agenda of diversity, and it makes me better than you, and you have to conform to this and be just like my own diversity, which of course we know isn't diversity. Instead, independent comics, we got horror books, we got frog books. There's several of those actually. It's kind of odd. We have historical books. We've got a few things that are comedy, a few things that are kids. You go into the independent world, it is just amazing about how much stuff is out there. And it is a monster, really. It's a monster of diversity that we're all trying to wrangle ourselves around in order to, what do I back? What do I like? The greatest thing is we all like something different, because frankly, I don't like some of the things coming out. But you know what? You do. And you know who you are. And I appreciate that you like it. You just put into the chat, you know who you are. You type in your thing. Oh, I like what you don't, DeWolf. Go ahead and do it. I like my own things. You like yours. Chester likes his. And that is a strength, and we're not even using it. What are we doing? We're bickering. Well, I'm sorry, guys. You know what? Keep doing it if you like to. I guess that's your form of diversity. Otherwise, the rest of us are going to be out here backing books, reading books, making books of all different flavors and concepts, and enjoying it. And I know I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it a lot. It's been a lot of fun. It's going to keep being fun. And that's what I've got to say. What do the fans have to say? Welcome to FanSpeak.
Well, amen. And I would add to that, though, are they really, really exemplifying the pseudo-lesbian Muslim rhetoric that is really necessary to be a diverse comic, though, DeWolf? I mean, is that
There.
really being represented properly?
Give us another week, Chester.
All right. Another week and it's coming.
Someone will make it, right, Preston?
I've been catching flack on the issue 4 cover, but it's very polarizing. I post it to various groups and I get people going, "Wow, lesbians, I'm backing it. Where shut up and take my money." And other people are like, "Oh my god!" And still other people are like, "What an SJW rag!" I'm like, well, I see. There's a diversity of opinion over one image.
It's true.
Right.
It's true.
Hey, if let's say I did back it, I forget. Is that the main cover or the variant cover?
That's the variant cover.
Oh, the main cover is more spicy.
No, the main cover is just Lily lighting a cigarette.
Oh. Yeah, I like that one.
Okay. Yeah, with like the flames in the background of the plane and all that good jazz.
Yeah, make sure I get that one.
There you go. And of course, we're going to take a look at that in a second. And of course, you guys hear Preston Poulter speaking. And just keep in mind, we love having Preston over here. I think he's a very entertaining guest and a friend. I hope. I like Preston. And I would say that Preston's one of those fellas that doesn't just allow himself to be drawn into the void. He screams and he struggles and he spits at it. So yeah, it's good.
I've become a popular focus lately, so there we go.
You do, but you're having a lot of fun, I feel.
I am having a lot of fun.
So that's all that matters. But of course, guys, we've had Preston on here before, and we're going to get into what he's doing with his White Lily #4. We're going to talk about what he's doing over in Anycom TV. Of course, you got several of us here that are involved in that, which is a lot of fun. And we're also going to do some news as usual. So let's jump right over. I'm going to go over here and take a look at the White Lily momentarily. There are a couple little of housekeeping things we need to do before we do that, though, if you do not mind. The first thing I want to mention here, and you guys are going to have to help me out a bit because I don't know who this person is, but I want to show respect. There's an artist, Ricardo Tercio, has passed away. Here's some of his art right here. It's quite good art. He did the Spider-Man fairy tales, and it looks like he did quite a bit of that stuff. I don't know who he is, but like I said, I want to show respect to him because he's passed away. So it says down here that according to Marvel Comics, CB Swalski let us know. He says he's a Portuguese artist, was best known for comics with the Spider-Man fairy tale series and Avengers fairy tale anthology series that put Marvel Comics twist on classic fairy tales, which sounds fun. Yeah, that's all I know. He doesn't know the cause of death, or at least he didn't disclose it. So, does anybody here know who Ricardo Tercio is?
Hmm.
It's unfortunate.
He's a very he's a famous a children's book illustrator. So
Okay.
a lot of, I think, Scholastics and those kind of young book publishings.
So he's kind of like Gary.
He's yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. But like I said, maybe some of the chat knows who he is more so, but it doesn't matter. He's certainly part of the industry, and he has passed away, and I don't even know how old he is or anything like that. I really wish I knew more. But nevertheless, I want to show respect to him, and it's beautiful art and safe journeys.
43.
Absolutely. 40. Whoa. Jeez, dude.
Mm-hmm.
That's way, way, way too young. Were you able to, because I wasn't able to find it. Could you find anything on why he died or any information at all?
I'm still looking, but when you were asking for the age, they said he passed away at 43.
Hmm.
So I'm still looking for it. He's a fairly young guy.
That's very young, yeah. I mean, that's even younger than our chairman.
That's younger than me, and I had a friend I posted on Twitter that may be dead today or may not. He was going in for a surgery that he was not expected to survive, and he told me
that's
that
rough.
a friend of his would call me, and I haven't heard. So I guess
Oh,
just
my.
going on the last information, he probably did not, but I don't know. But it's as you get into your 40s, you start to have friends that don't make it, and it's it's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lady Celtic Moon says, "Oh God, Chester changed his icon." No, I didn't. I most certainly did not. Unless Preston is up to his shenanigans again, I'll blame him. It's always easy just to blame Preston. Everyone else does.
Everyone else
Yeah,
does.
yeah. But anyway, safe journeys. Rest in peace. Condolences to his families, of course. Maybe somewhere along the line here, Dinale will be able to dig something out. But that's sad news, man, because he's a great artist and way, way too young. Way too young. But anyway, moving on. Next thing we do before we start talking to Preston about his White Lily, I do want to give a quick shout out here to a good friend of the channel. And of course, for also with the guy who we're doing pontificators with, but we love art. He's got his chrono mechanics going on. It's got 57 days left. It's up to $6,500. So awesome. But this I have seen, and I think several of the guys here as well have seen some of the behind the scenes art and stuff that's going on with it. And it's a great looking comic, guys, and it's a very interesting idea too. So, if Booster could do us a favor, I don't know why he's not in here, but Booster, if you can do me a favor and put the link to Art Bear's Chrono Mechanics as well as Preston's White Lily #4 on Kickstarter, please. That would be appreciated. But I just want to give a shout out to it because Art's a great artist. He's a great guy, and he's a great fan of the indie revival community. So let's go and support Art. And it's certainly worth the money. I mean, it's a beautiful looking book. And I do believe DeWolf, you were involved in that behind the scenes conversation where we saw a whole bunch of that extra art for, didn't you?
Yeah, some of that art and some of the story behind it.
Yeah.
Me, I'm the story guy, and I think this fixing the timeline, and it's done with a more comic booky, right? This isn't more of sci-fi kind of serious quantum leap stuff.
Hmm.
It's fun, and they're fixing time, and he's poking fun at that concept, and it just looks like a fun, good comic book.
Yeah, no, it's a wonderful looking thing. I just want to give a shout out is all. But
Yeah,
definitely, chrono mechanics. But let's move on to what we're doing here today. And of course, that is White Lily number 4. Oof. Well, you got my attention right off the bat there, Preston.
I totally went for salacious stuff on this one.
Mhm.
I mean, the thing is, if you look at like all the other White Lily covers, as well as what the White Lily 5 cover is going to be, it's all war stuff. But this time, I'm like, well, it's part of the story, so let's hit it hard. So there it is.
And at least they're not butch. That's a good thing.
No,
We don't want
Yeah.
butchness. No butchness
No.
necessary. Well, I guess for a certain community, butchness is good. But
Right.
you're almost funded there, dude.
Yeah, no, I'm very close. So
Yeah.
What's the green box in the middle of that picture?
That is a trailer. Would you like me to hit that? I usually wait a little bit, but you want me to hit it now?
Oh,
All right, you said
goodness,
so.
is it?
I'm doing it.
Well,
I'm
wait.
clicking it. Oh, it's done.
You're
It-
supposed to
I'm
ask
writer and
Preston
creator
if we're going to like it.
Poulter,
No,
and
no.
I'm telling the
He already
story of
knows.
White Lily, which is about the deadliest female fighter.
This one's
pilot
not near as
ever
exciting
lived.
as just me
She
talking.
was a real woman. Her name was Lydia Litviak.
Oh, but it's about
she
her.
flew for the Soviet
It is
Union
about her.
during the Second
That's
World
great.
War. And issue 4, which is what this Kickstarter is for, is already done. So there's no risk to completion. This book is already done. I'm ready to send it out to you. All I need is who goes on the thank you page right here on the inside back cover, which you can get by backing this campaign. Issue 4 is my favorite issue. I've been doing a number of comic book shows over the last couple of years, and when people walking by my table these days, I introduce them to the story on this issue.
Well, they're all
because
enjoying their
this
copies.
contains the real conflict.
They are.
Which
yeah.
is Lydia Litviak's quest for purpose. She is
I've got to get
very much
mine
out
then.
of place in Russian society. She's a Jew. Her father was executed during the Purge for being a political malcontent.
Oh, that's terrible.
She
It
understands
is.
the communist platitudes that are being trotted out in
It-
front
it's
of
a very
her
rough
as a pack
story.
of lies.
It
At
is.
the
That's
same time, she
engaging.
stands in opposition
Great looking art, though.
to the horrible enemy that is attacking the Germans, the Nazis. So what is she to do? She fights
like
the
that
good
page.
fight.
A lot of people
in
like
order
that
to find
page, yeah.
the motivation,
It came
and
off better
purpose,
than I
she's
thought
relying
when
on
you first explained
relationships of those around her.
Yeah, it's
which
not
is
a bad
what
trailer at
this
all.
story
It is a talking
about.
head trailer, but it
In the prior
actually
three
works.
issues, she's fallen in love with a man she flies with, Alexei Solomatin. Here in issue 4, events are going to happen that's going to cause her to have to rethink everything. And Katya, who has silently been nurturing this
Well, he's got other production value
unrequited
in
love
his,
for her,
you know,
is going to be
channel
there
and
for
stuff.
her in her times
Sure.
of grief and struggle. You're going to be able to put together your own reward tier. For instance, if you just pledge on the $8 level, but you want the back issues, when the time comes for checkout, you can add on issues 1, 2, and 3.
You're using
I charge
Backer Kit,
$5
right?
each for those.
Yes.
Or
Yeah,
$20
see, that's
each
the
if you're going
Backer
for
Kit
the
is awesome.
Kickstarter-only
Indiegogo
Backer Kit
needs to
is
figure that
wonderful.
out, dude.
campaigns.
Yeah.
So if you just overbid, for instance, by $50,
Nah, it's my
so
favorite.
paying $23
Yeah, it's great, yeah.
on the $8 pledge, when the time comes to checkout, you can just add on issues 1, 2, and 3. By over pledging, you're going to help the campaign hit its goal as well as any stretch goals that come along. What I've done in putting together the upper reward tiers is I'm basically giving you a bundling discount. At the $65 level, for instance,
That's a lot
you
of
get
trailer.
this lenticular cover
It
of
is.
issue 3, where depending on the light, she's going to be firing off her gun, and the plane in the back.
I
is
had a lot of
moving. You
things
get
to
both
say.
the covers
You
of
did.
issue
You
4.
do.
You
And I
get
think
an issue
now that we've
5,
seen the trailer, we
and
don't
you
need to
get
talk about
2
it anymore.
White
So
Lily trading
Exactly.
cards.
thanks, Preston. See you next time, dude.
So all that for $65, no shipping charges in the domestic U.S. Thank you very
I mean,
much.
I've done
Back
so
in
many
my
of these
project, and also
Kickstarters.
encourage you
Like,
to
I
follow
knew
me
all
on
the questions
Kickstarter,
I
because I'm
was
about
going to
to
be
launch
asked and all the
Innovative
things I
Infinity
needed to
Factory
explain,
as soon
and
as
I
get
just
this
couldn't explain it
campaign
in
over and
60
fulfilled.
seconds. So I'm just like,
Ideally,
all
this is
right.
going to go up on
First, here's the
December, if
story.
not early
Here's the
January,
campaign.
so
Here's what
stay
we're doing.
tuned, because a lot of people are
And
asking
Guinevere
about that
2 is coming up
Thank
because
you
I know a
very
lot
much
of
for your
people have been
time.
asking
Take
about
care.
that one.
Ah, cool. Yeah, no, I've heard people ask about that as well.
Yeah.
But all right. Well, it's interesting. It's a talking head trailer, which I usually hate. But
Right.
it comes across well because it's very professionally presented. You're speaking, you're getting right to the point. You're not wasting time. So
Right.
I think that's good. Maybe it's a little long. The only thing I would suggest about the trailer is I'm not sure if you rendered it or not, but the sound is only coming through my left ear. It's not coming through
Huh.
my right.
Oh, that's weird. Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know what that is. Could have been a rendering problem. I don't know.
Okay.
But that would be the only suggestion because I wasn't getting hardly anything. I would say it was about 80 or 90 to 10% from left to right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll get to work on that.
But anyway, this is White Lily number 4. Now, of course, you guys know we looked at the previous stuff of White Lily, and we already know this is a historical-based thing about a lady pilot, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And you're not even a screaming SJW, are you?
That depends on who you ask.
Okay. All right. Well, you know
Well,
what
we're
I mean.
asking you at the moment.
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the thing about SJWs, I mean, some of them self-label, but most of them don't. For the most part, it's kind of an insult that people throw around. So it's kind of
I
like asking
suppose.
people,
But my point is that they say that there's no diversity outside of their little window, and of course it's
right,
nonsense. And you have a story here. Not only is it a World War
right,
II story, but it deals
yes,
with an actual person from history who was a female. I mean,
yes,
it's interesting, right? And you didn't even
yeah,
need any prodding to do so.
no,
So it's I just find it funny. Like we had the I forget what it was it Call of Duty or something like that came out with a World War II one, and instead of
hmm
taking many of the examples from World War II where women were actually involved in stuff, they made up
right,
stuff and made sure the men looked really bad, right?
hmm
I mean, it's like what are
Yeah.
you doing? There are some
yeah,
great examples of women during World War II who did courageous things. World War One is too. Nightingale, of course,
Right.
comes to mind immediately. Florence Nightingale.
So yeah, and just small correction. That was Battlefield 5, and she had a bionic arm that shot like a grappling hook. Just to put that in there.
Is that the one I'm thinking about? I think I was talking about a
Yep.
Call of Duty one where they had all those extra side missions, which are all female based, but they were made up. It sure is Battlefield 5. All right, I'll take it.
Yeah. Because it was the one with the CAO getting fired because he's remarked, if you don't like the game, don't buy it.
Yeah, well, they say that a lot. I suppose it's
Mhm.
true. But anyway, let's come down here, and we have 26 beautiful story pages of sequential art. Nicely put.
yeah.
Ooh.
And I
It's
do
the
like the art in your book. Now,
biggest comic yet,
it
and
is.
yeah, I my value proposition of when I'm making a comic book is that I'm going to take the team that did the cover and they're going to do every page. So the team that did the cover on the left, in this case, both covers, did all the artwork for White Lily 4. So,
Well, tell us about the team that's behind this. Now, I have to say I
right.
agree with I do agree with the DeWolf. I prefer the one where she's smoking a cigarette off the fire of the crashed plane. That is
I
cool.
love that one too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I get the salacious one as well. But yeah, tell us
Yeah.
about the team.
All right. So we got Jake Bilbao, who's out of the Philippines. He's had to step into the shoes of our penciler, Laval Davis, who passed away after issue 2. So
Oh, that sucks.
we asked him to kind of, yeah, I know. So we asked him to, speaking of, losing friends and stuff, that one sucks. But yeah, so we asked him to, step into the shoes and not be too radical a departure from what Laval had done for issue 1 and 2, and I think he's done really well. Like if you compare White Lily 1 and 2 versus White Lily 3 and 4, the artwork is still feeling very similar, and I like that. And then we have in fact, I think you should be able to scroll to the creative team there in the bio.
I will.
Yeah. Let's see. And then
No.
Blonde is editor and colorist.
Did I miss it?
Kind of my right hand man. And
here
I'm
it is,
relying
right
on
here.
him.
Nice.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. So there's Jag Kumar, and he was from New Delhi.
Sweet. So you have a very
Yeah.
international team. That's cool.
I sure do. The magic of the internet.
Yeah, well, we've been seeing a lot of artists and even inkers coming from outside of America, quite a bit of them, especially the colorists over in Indonesia, India, Philippines, stuff like that. There's a lot of guys doing that over there, and they're doing it well, too.
Right.
And their prices are very affordable as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the magic of indie comic books, right?
That's true. That is true. Yeah. Oh, interesting. But I actually think I like the art even better here than but I don't know.
Yeah.
The other art was good
No,
too.
I mean it over time, as I've kind of gotten my feet wet and I've decided on what I'm going to do, I'm like, okay, I'm going to put out, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put out a book which is fantastic art. And so I've gradually ratcheted up the caliber of the people I've been involved with. And you're looking at the result, so I'm always trying to push myself in that department. Like what's the best art team I can afford?
Sure, of course, that's always
Yeah.
important, and it looks great. So that's a good thing, that it's affordable and doable. But there is one interesting thinking because this is a historical book based on
Yes.
history anyway. And I'm kind of curious of one point of research, which I know you did, because I've certainly have researched a lot of World War II just for fun, and I do know with say the Spitfires versus the Messerschmitts,
Yes.
often what you would see is 2 or 3, usually 3 Spitfires going against a very large group of Messerschmitts. But and through the war, the balance of which one was better went back and forth, of course. But in the end, the Spitfire was usually a bit more maneuverable and better in a
Yeah.
dogfight. But
Yeah.
the Russians, however, I know nothing about their aircraft, and I'm kind of wondering, going against the Luftwaffe, was it similar where the Russians could handle a small group against a number of Messerschmitts? Because that's what the Germans did. They went with quantity, right, when it came to
Right.
the Luftwaffe.
The Russian, I mean, initially the Russians just got absolutely crushed. I mean, like they were losing, as we talk about in issue 2, like their casualty rates would be like, we lost 95% of that squadron, and that squadron got obliterated. They just didn't know how to do it. Like their early versions of the Yakovlev 1, which was the fighter that they're flying, didn't have a radio, and they were doing World War I tactics, which is you fly up and you look around and you see somebody and you challenge them to so the idea of really using a wingman and teamwork and radio communication and getting information, all that was just lost on them. They were just getting crushed, and also the planes they were using just weren't as good. And planes were something that were desperately needed by everybody in the war, and so it's not like the UK would be willing to send Spitfires over to the Russians, for instance. So what they ended up with were basically the planes that the other countries didn't want, as well as some of the ones that they could make. So the planes that got used mostly on the Eastern Front. All right, so we got the Yakovlevs, which Katya and Lilia fly, and they're not equipped with oxygen systems, which is why you see Lilia is barefaced. Yeah, but it also helps in terms of distinguishing the characters because they're barefaced. But but that's also historically they did not have an oxygen system in that plane.
I was going to bring that up. Yeah.
But they also had I forget what it was, but the Warhawk that usually would be painted with that tiger mouth that were used by the Flying Tigers.
Right.
Yeah, but that is like P-37 or something. But yeah, there's the Warhawk. It was used by the Russians, as well as P-39s. And I have a lot of P-39s, which that was like the forerunner to the A-10. And it was interesting. It was basically a plane that was wrapped around a gun. So
Lots of them.
Yeah, so the P-39 had this big cannon down the nose, and then a whole bunch of other, like 2 other machine guns in the nose, as well as other machine guns in the wings. And they had so many guns in the nose that they had to put the engine in the back of the plane, and then a crankshaft that went through the cockpit. So through the pilot's feet was this crankshaft from the rear-mounted engine to the front-mounted propeller. And that was a plane that a lot of people didn't like, so we just ended up giving it to the Russians. And the Russians seemed to like the plane just fine. I mean, the things that made other people nervous is, one, well, in a dogfight, if you're fighting against somebody, they're typically going to be trying to get behind you and shoot at you, and that's where your engine is. So now your engine's taking hits, and it's going to put you out of commission.
Right.
And then if you crash land, all the weight of the plane is going to be the engine behind you. So that engine could just, come forward through the cockpit and crush you, which is, a bad way to die. It also had it didn't have the typical sliding back cockpit. Instead, they had a side-mounted car door type door in order to get in. And one of the things we deal with here in issue 4 is that means if your plane is in a roll or a spin, that it's very difficult to get out because that door keeps slamming on you. Whereas if you're able to roll back the cockpit in a traditional fighter, then you can just jump out the top. So.
Yeah, interesting. See, I knew you had done the research on it, which makes me happy. But it's a little bit better than those Messerschmitts pilots, though, because those guys were literally sitting on their gas tank.
Right.
So, I mean, there's many situations where them jumping out of the plane on fire, right?
Right.
So it's but yeah, World War II dogfighting was a very interesting thing, and of course, it is another interesting fact to me that the Russians were dealing with, from what you're saying, with pretty inferior products. But we know going into the future during the Cold War, and of course unto even today,
right.
The Russians are always pushing the Americans to be at the cutting edge. And as it stands right now, the most capable fighter jet in the world is Russian, not American. Right, right now. So it's interesting how far they came from that place.
Sure. Although I would say that the American focus has gone away from dogfight because
That's true.
like World War II is the last like thing where you're really doing a lot of dogfighting. These days, it's how far out does your radar work, and how many missiles are you carrying, and how good are the missiles. And the United States has always had missiles that were just head and shoulders above everybody else's missiles. Fire and forget kind of thing. And so the American Air Force, I'm sure, would be confident that, well, maybe their plane is more maneuverable, but who cares? You're launching missiles at them from 50 miles away.
True, but the thing with the Russian jet today is that thing can do a 90 degrees nose up stall, come back down
Right.
backwards behind the
Right.
missiles, stall, bank ref
Right.
stall. I mean,
Right.
it's ridiculous. So it's a missile dodger.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's very interesting. Of course, this is talking about a World War II pilot, a fighter
Yes.
pilot, and it's nice that we do take some time in the comic to talk about that,
Yeah.
and not just be some drama on the ground. So I think it's pretty cool. And here we see the scene before she lights her cigarette. She's got hit. She's got to land.
Yeah.
Is she in enemy territory?
Actually, this is not a scene, and the cover. A lot of people think that that's her fighter has crashed and she got out of it and she lit a cigarette, and that's fine. But this is actually a reference to something that supposedly, and there are so many stories about World War II, and the Soviet Union wasn't exactly forthcoming about what they did or didn't do, but it got very cold that winter, as I think we all know. And the Germans had problems on certain cold days of running their equipment, like their tanks and their fighters it was just too cold to start them. But the Russians were better able to operate their equipment in cold weather. And supposedly that was because they would set a fire under their equipment in order to start it in the morning. And
Wow.
I thought that was a great metaphor for her entire life, which is she's sitting in the middle of a fire that is consuming everything that she is and everything that she believes in. And in this case, she's now climbed into the cockpit, and she's wondering if she's going to push that button or if she's just going to sit there and die of smoke inhalation. It's her, she's constantly had this struggle because going back to, as I was saying, her father was executed during the Purge. And to me, when I look at it, I think everybody that is basically ever fought in virtually any battle, and throughout the course of human history, has been told the message that you are out there representing your people, your civilization, your way of life. And if you win, then you will come back a hero. And if you die, it's in the service of your people and your nation. You will be remembered. But that wasn't what she was told. She was a Jew. She was not liked. Her people were not liked by either the Germans or the Russians. Her father had been executed, and she knew that the communist way of life was just a bunch of lies. And so the question becomes here, now that she's having to deal with the death of a comrade, is like, why the hell am I even doing this? And so, I have her just sitting there trying to figure out if it's even worth it to push the button to go on with life, or if it's better just to sit there and die. And that was an internal struggle that I was able to externalize in this scene.
Wow, how nice metaphor. How apropos of our current times, because exactly, because we have a lot of things that are kind of mirroring what happened back in those days going on right now. We have a group of people who,
Right.
even though they throw the word fascist around a lot, they don't realize they are the fascist. And of course, we're following the same type of pattern that we saw with the social revolutions in both the Soviet Union as well as communist China. And it's eerie, particularly with the China's the communist uprising, revolution, social revolution in China. How eerie it mirrors what is going on right now in the West.
Absolutely,
It's shocking, and it terrifies me how little people bother to study history in school because they are following the exact same steps. And we have video from those times, and we could put them side by side, and it's terrifying, dude.
And the other thing, I don't know if did you follow the text over there on the page on the right?
You're talking about the pledge here, the Colonel pledge.
No, not the pledge, but the thought she has on the right, kind of the thought bubbles in her whole process as she's like, all right, as she says, death will come again, and then she's pushing the starter button, then it comes down to he always does, And then, finally the plane engages, and then that bang represents the motor actually clicking and starting and jolting her out of her grief and her depression. And then she's like, flying, my first love. And then she's like, you allow me to share death with the enemy, as she's closing her cockpit. And then the bottom thing, we have the motion of the propeller is now forcing back all the smoke and all the flame as she's taxiing out of there. And she's like, death is my purpose now. I will live for death. And
Preston,
yeah,
I think there's more story in these 2 pages that I've seen in other comic books.
oh, thank you.
Yeah, no,
Am I wrong? Am I wrong, Chester?
no, you're right. We've been saying that all along. The story here is very good. The art is very solid. It's
Wow.
it's a good looking thing, and we're really happy to have Preston on talking about it.
Thank you.
Because we need more of that. One of the problems we've had, and I think DeWolf and the other guys will agree with me, is we've been seeing some pretty good art come out across the board, but how many good stories have we gotten? I can think of one that pops in my head immediately, which we've mentioned many times on this show, of course, is T-Bird and Throttle, because that's got a
Right.
killer story behind it. But how many other ones are really standing up to something that stands out, DeWolf?
Yeah. I got 2 or 3 on my mind, and that would be seeing about all the ones that I've backed, about 10. Given some of the other ones a little credit, maybe 20% of the books.
Yeah. I'm not saying the other
Yeah.
ones are bad. I mean, they're fine. I haven't seen any that I
Yeah.
thought that wins, at least the 40 or so that I backed that were bad. But it's just, no, we really good
Yeah.
writing is
I've
important.
gotten one that definitely was bad, absolutely terrible. I won't even mention it by name. But there was another one. In all honesty, though, there was another one that also had good story in it. I thought it could be longer. That's the thing. This one here also is 26 pages.
Mhm.
I could have thought that like by the time I got to the end of the other one, I thought, well, I could use some more pages of this, and I'm glad to hear there's a number 2 coming out, and that of course is Guinevere and the Divinity Factory.
Yeah.
It has story in it as well. I don't think, I'll be honest,
Yeah.
it has the depth of this one.
No.
But of
no,
course,
no.
this one you're in a history salad.
Yeah.
So.
And we're also dealing with a topic that, like, look, that bottom sequence there, I show that to people at like comic shows as they're just walking by and they're like, what's this? And I'll be like, all right, if you really want to know the story here, I'll just turn to that section of issue 4 and they'll read it. And some people are like, I have to have this, in which case they'll buy all 4 issues,
Right.
and I'm fine. And other people are like, this is not for me. And then I'm like, and that's fine too. So Guinevere is for the people like, this is not for me. I'm like, well, how about a story about a woman who can do magic? She's sexy
You're
and stuff.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very character driven though. This one is
Right.
character driven. It's
Yeah.
getting into the deepness of their psyches as well.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
you're right, some people aren't necessarily into that, but for the most part, you want to get a good story.
Right.
You got to start with that character first, and then let the plot unfold from there.
Yeah. And like it's I talk about this comic book a lot, and I just came from a comic show where I've been talking about it all day yesterday, and I do so many shows. So I've had literally hundreds, if not bordering on now thousands of conversations about this book, and I never tire of talking about it. I love the freaking thing. But one of the a lot of a common question is, how come I haven't heard about this woman before? To which I go, well, that's why I'm here. But in looking at it, it's a dark story, and if you're at all accurate to history, it has to be a dark story. It's about, she lost her dad, she lost the love of her life, she's, and like everyone around her is dying. There she is, so it's hard to take that and put a happy face on it. And I think that is true to the Russian experience of the Second World War. Whereas the American experience is very different, and we're kind of more used to the American experience. And I have seen other people tell, either Lily's story or maybe a similar story, and it's kind of an American version of the story with like a Russian flag, like, we're here with my comrades and we're out to kill the Germans and whatever, and like, but that's not what it was like. So this is more, if we're really exploring what it means to be just immersed in death and sacrifice, then let's go there. But I understand that that's not for everybody. So Guinevere is a much lighter story.
Sure.
It's also in Russia.
It's
That's
also
true.
in Russia. Yeah.
Well,
Right. So we love all of our heroes
Right.
and everything, but then you also, not only are they far away and they're not us, but then that
Right.
whole Cold War aspect meant that we had to push any heroes that they did possibly have even further
Right.
away from them, right? Or
Exactly. Yeah.
from
There's
us.
that as
Yeah.
well.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, it's a fair analogy because in America, the whole World War II experience was about the march toward righteousness, right?
Right. Exactly.
Where in Russia it was a march towards survival, because
Yes.
by that time they'd already been beaten down by the system that it was. They'd already become jaded and kind of gave up on it, and of
Right.
course they died by the frickin' thousands, dude.
Yeah.
Because they were horrible. They had no
Right.
equipment. They were horrible fighters. They weren't good at anything. They just were good at
Right.
throwing their lives at it. So
Exactly.
yeah, it's a very different experience. Yeah.
And White Lily, I think, is my best attempt to be true to that and the fatalism of that and the question of what does any of this even mean, you know, which is a question I end up asking myself a lot. I'm sure a lot of other people ask themselves a lot, and so, but it's in looking at the White Lily story that it's about the quest for purpose, and what does it mean for her? Or what does it mean for me? How can I find purpose in what I'm doing? And for her purpose is, as we saw at the end of that page, was just death. She would find death, and she would bring other people to death, and that was her purpose. And let's go. And
Well,
to me, and other people are like, because I remember somebody 2 or 3 months ago were like, a friend of mine that I went on a few dates with is like calling me and suicidal. I don't know what to do. And I told him, here's a link to my comic book. Have him read it. And they're like, no, I'm serious. I'm like, no, I'm serious. And like I would show them that page and they're like, wait a minute. So you're saying that any quest to continue to live is okay in that moment? I'm like, yeah. And maybe you'll find a different one later. So they're like,
that's a fair
oh, you're
point.
so, yeah.
Very fair point. All right. Well, very interesting. Now I want to shift gears a little bit here if I can.
Sure.
And
Of course.
Booster has got the little crusties out of his eyes, and he's decided to
I'm
join us. Hello.
Awesome.
I made it. Just I rolled out of bloody bed and I got in here.
Dude, it's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, dude, for you.
Yeah, and I was up at 6 a.m. playing Divinity. What do you want from me?
Oh, okay. I don't know. Responsibility? No. I want to.
Oh, la di da. Yeah, you should be very responsible. You should get your life together, Booster. I like video games.
All right, fine. Anyway, with the arrival, Booster, we're going to take a quick shift here for just a moment, and because we have Preston and DeWolf here, and myself as well, and I want to take a moment to talk a little bit about the Indicom TV. Now, me
Sure.
personally, my involvement is very minimal. Of course, here later tonight or your Sunday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I do my Coffee Yaki Habara, and it's fun. It's basically a format where you have me and possibly Todd and interviewing a industry person. It's a lot of fun. It's interesting. We do top of the week, but that's my involvement is kind of the extent of it. So it's just as a contributor. But these two guys are far more involved in it. Preston does a lot of stuff over there, and of course, DeWolf is taking on an executive type of position with Indicom TV. So if you two could take a moment and just talk a little bit about what you're doing over there and what's going on, and just give us the skinny.
I make videos.
I know
That's
you make a lot of them.
I got you makes fun of you.
I make videos.
Yeah, but you
and
make quite a
comic
bit.
books. I make those too. I do. Yeah, I try to be prolific.
Yep. Preston is one of the foremost creators that is able to post standalone videos, and we appreciate what he does with there. We also have, of course, John Dillard. Him and his "I'll Draw Your OC" is always a delight to see, and the rest of it is, it's still a co-op, right? Co-op concept, volunteer, coming together, getting guys and helping each other out. That's what a lot of it comes down to, because this is a big game with lots of stuff going on, and so it takes a lot of knowledge, and I'm not even just talking the knowledge of art or writing and then creating a campaign and trying to run it. A lot of these guys are also YouTube streamers. And so what happens at Indicom TV is we're able to sort of share some of the tips and tricks amongst everyone on what makes for cool streaming. I'm not sure if you guys have seen what Joseph White and Todd Mulrooney have been doing, but now when they stream, they've got bars up on either side, and apparently what they're doing is they're just basically sharing their screen as they draw, but they have tools on their computer, brushes and colors if they're adding colors and whatnot, and because that's not as interesting as art, they just have covered that up with art with these different overlays that they can put, and
Sure.
so they want to share that with other guys. John Dillard, the way he does some of his production value and things that he has added, he's come and he's shared too. So everyone's game increases, even on their own channel. And that's one of the coolest things about Indicom TV with all these guys coming together. It's a pleasure for me to be able to be involved because as a writer, things are different. And so on how you present art, for instance, what Preston has done is he's done his own production value in videos and just shares the elegant nature that he can share the news of the independent comic books is that's going on around the world as we know it.
I do my best.
Yeah, yeah. And oh yeah, you did a great job.
Thank you.
And so that's what it is. We keep inviting more and more people to come around and actually get involved if you can, right? Because we all have limited time and we're all trying to do our own projects. But this is a way to become involved and get in part of that sharing and learn more. Like I said, there's a lot going on from streaming to getting because it's called a campaign. You got to act like a politician. You got to get your name out, get your voice out. You do what you're doing. Are you going to conventions? Everything that makes a successful comic book campaign, printing, and the like can be shared amongst everyone. And we occasionally have that. Much like on the Tuesday shows, now we have the art of making comics, and that's what we've been talking with amongst each other and sharing that on a live stream. Preston, we realized that we have this valuable talent with Preston in the fact that he has made so many of these so far.
Yeah.
He's got successful campaigns, and so to have more of that share, and we're not just talking oh hey buy his book or this person has something going on, which we're also doing on Mondays. We check out Indiegogos, we check out Kickstarters and say this is a good looking book, and hey, at least you know about it now if you visit us. If you're someone, come by, stop by the Twitter and say I've got a book out. At least let us know about it, let more people know about it, and that's what we're doing on Mondays and Tuesdays. And then on Mondays. And then on Tuesdays, we have Preston come on, and he, myself, the other guys, the artists. So you've got a wide range of people in there, of different aspects coming in on what it takes to start creating a comic book, talking about it. And like I say, Preston has great experience from start to finish, and he's just sharing that. And so to sit around, listen and learn, take some notes, it can only make you better.
Yeah, awesome. And definitely go check it out. The links have been put in there by Booster Guys. I think there's a lot of cool stuff going on in Anycom TV, and definitely go be part of it. Where it's a group of creators that are trying to help each other and make something interesting. So definitely support that.
Yeah.
Now,
let me share.
Oh,
let me share
absolutely.
one more quick thing
Yeah.
on Friday. We just had our first Scribbattle, and John Dillard started this. I think he did it on his channel first.
I was cheated.
What? It was what? It was Brewster was cheated.
I was cheated of my victory.
So the fun thing about Scribbattle is it's more like a Pictionary thing. The artists are drawing the art. The chat is guessing what they are drawing at that moment. And then there's a running tally on the chat, on the actual participants in the live stream, on who's got the most points of their guesses. And of course, these are artists, so they're able to make and draw what you want. Pretty good, pretty fast, pretty cool. And it's a neat and interesting show. FanSpeak doesn't have a Friday going on, so stop by Indicom TV and watch Scribbattle.
Yep, yeah, good point. Yeah. Very good point. Sounds fun too. All right, so let's jump over and do some news. And of course, at the end of the show, we'll come back and take a look at White Lily 4 again. But
Awesome.
Here we go. So now our first bit of news is Interesting and unfortunate, I'd say. Dinale, take it away.
All right, from Variety. This happened Thursday night, but John Cho had a accident during filming where he hurt his knee that requires surgery. So now he's 7 to 9 months out, and production is halted for the live action Netflix Cowboy Bebop.
Now, this brings up an interesting
It's
conversation.
almost like God is trying to tell them not to do this.
Maybe. But it is interesting because John Cho, I don't know much about him as far as his public or his private or, public chatting and tweeting life. So he could be something, and I don't know anything about it. But as far as what I've seen him do as far as acting, I like him. He seems like a nice fellow too, so this is sad. I hope he heals up perfectly, and I hope everything goes well. But it does bring up the conversation, however, and I think Dinale has a point to make about it as well. That is he the right choice for Spike Spiegel? Because he doesn't look anything at all like Spike Spiegel, not even a little.
It's an Asian show, so the main character, he must be Asian.
Yeah, well, he's not though. In the story, poor Japanese. No one
Can't
understands
you tell
them.
by his very Asian name, Spike Spiegel?
Yeah, right. That German name there. But now Dinale brought up a very interesting point earlier. Why don't you go ahead and lay that out, Dinale?
Well, it's something about cost and production, which is basically, I don't know any production that's willing to wait several stars to recover without losing money. So
sure.
And especially with Netflix, which they're down with subscribers and shareholders are looking, what are you guys doing to make us profit? They might have to recast John Cho, maybe after a month, and use like that time to find a new Spike Spiegel, because they can't wait for Cho for that long time recovery. If it was pairing 1 month or 2 months, I could see it them doing that, but for almost 9 months, 7 to 9 months, I don't see any production doing it, because you have to worry about the production team, you have to worry about the directors and the script writers and everything that comes with it, because those people, these are like seasonal jobs, looking for the next work, and they need some kind of security to know that, hey, we're going to get paid regardless of this 7 to 9 months, or else we're going to hop on to the next project. And we need to know. So this uncertainty is always bad for business and the economy as well.
That's true. Thundera says, be a real shame if they canceled it. Well, we'll see. I don't know if they're going to do that, but it's we also have been, we've talked about this here going along here as we've gotten information on it here on FanSpeak, of course. And this is one of the typical Netflix rainbow productions, is one of every color, of course. And I'm sure there's one of every religion too, which is not sticking to the format of Cowboy Bebop. Cowboy Bebop is also something that is sacred to many of us. And I don't think that a lot of us are very confident in what they're going to put out. Now, you never know. Could be absolutely stellar. But there's a lot of things like this that have happened, right? We're not at all solid in our support of what's going on with the Watchmen. It actually looks like it's going to be horrible, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's just another rainbow cast, and that's not what it's supposed to be. But these people don't seem to understand anything about nothing. Go ahead, Booster.
You want to scroll down just a wee bit?
Sure.
A wee bit.
Just a wee bit. Oh, no, you missed it. I believe they were saying that they're filming this in New Zealand.
They are, yeah.
I know what I must do.
Oh, no. All right, go ahead.
I'll save Cowboy Bebop! Oh!
Oh, goodness. Well, New Zealand's just a small place. It must be near your backyard where they're shooting it. Right?
He's gone. He went to go save
He's gone. He's gone.
Yeah.
All right, there it is.
So there's some of the jobs
There you go.
that's on stake. So
The Appleware is on his way. Sweet.
You know what's interesting? This is related, but not entirely relevant to this news story. But this late last night / early this morning, I came up with, I know the next project I need to do after White Lily. I mean, obviously I'm going to finish out the Guinevere story, but I'm like, I need to do some version of a space opera that, certainly takes, I think, the best elements of Macross, which to me, Macross and White Lily were always kind of similar, and that, I grew up on Macross, and I certainly use some of those elements in terms of White Lily because Macross is a pretty damn dark story, even at like the end of it, like Lisa Hayes wins, she gets the band she wanted, but the human race has been reduced to like a single city, and, and it's all about, death and sacrifice and finding purpose. And I used a lot of that stuff in White Lily. And I know, at the end of White Lily, people are going to be like, okay, so what happens next? I'm going to be like, next we're going to do it in space. So, we're going to, the next title I want to work on is going to be, Guinevere, but then I also want to do some type of, Macross anime focus in space. And I think I'm probably going to go with kind of a more adulty vibe to it.
Well, I'm going to have to call you out, Preston. I do apologize.
Okay, go ahead. Right.
It's called Robotech.
I can't find them.
It's Robotech. It's not.
Okay.
It's Robotech.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right.
How dare you say Macross? What do you mean you couldn't find a booster? New Zealand is like 5 square miles. Come on.
Yeah, I don't know where they're filming it. I don't have a car.
You would have to walk the 5 miles, which is too much for the oily bird. But here's a suggestion.
I'm not that into anime, so.
Yeah, here's a suggestion. If they do change it, they have to change John Cho for another actor. One act, and they have to keep it Asian. I would recommend Louis Tan. It's a replacement because he is a martial artist and he does look like Spike Spiegel if you give him the long hair, crazy hair like Spike.
Cool. Well, there you go. But I mean, I don't know. He's a pretty big name. I don't think they're going to want to let him go. But P.S. Melter says it's 2:30 breakfast. I bet the Hobbit is pissed. It's probably true. True. But Chad seems to want Ted Danson to take over the role. Hey, I don't know. Maybe. Next.
Yes.
All right, and this is from Summerleaf, and he posted from Bounty into Comic, The Suicide Squad, more set. John Cena, Idris Elba.
Idris
And
Elba.
Yeah,
Idris Elba, yeah.
And Viola Davis.
And thank you.
You're welcome.
This is
prison.
the first movie I've ever seen that's a reboot of a one movie franchise so far.
Right? Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. But John Cena, he's not a very good actor, but he's John Cena, so rock on.
My daughter loves him.
Yeah,
Loves
John Cena's
him,
cool.
yeah.
That's why. Of course, they're saying that we have Bronze Tiger here is Idris Elba. That could be cool.
Mm-hmm.
I like Idris Elba quite a bit. He's a really good actor. But here's I don't know if that's a set photo. Whatever article. But let's see here. Ratcatcher. Ratcatcher is now a female. I wonder how excited she is to be a Ratcatcher character. She's way too attractive to be Ratcatcher. I mean, what the hell? They got to cover your face, baby.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know about that. That's weird casting.
What's strange casting? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
of
like,
course,
hey, this is the role of a lifetime. You're making it big, love. You're going to be Ratcatcher.
Yeah, and of course the best character to come out of Suicide Squad, Boomerang. How awesome, Captain Boomerang. How awesome is that he was the coolest part though? Because everything else pretty much sucked, other than this chick's tits and ass. But that's the only reason she was in there. Margot Robbie, you go. Nice set you got there. I thought that would have been sexist, but hey, that's the way it is. And let's see. Yeah, whatever. Once again, I don't see set photos. There's not all that. You're lying to me, bounding into comics. What are you doing?
Don't fib right to our faces.
I know. But anyway, whatever. This debacle is rolling downhill as usual. So we'll see how it turns out. But then again, James Gunn is behind it.
John Cena doing in it?
I don't know, dude. Then maybe because Batista had so much success, maybe they think wrestlers are where it's at for the future. I don't know. But
Rumor has it Idris Elba is going to play White Lily in the adaptation.
There you go.
I don't know how he's going to handle that lesbian love scene. But anyway, moving on
Oh yeah.
to hopefully a more serious. Oh God, Dinale.
What? Dinale, what is this?
So, for those who were asleep overnight, Kathleen Kennedy receives the honorary commander of her most excellent commanders of the British Empire War for her contribution of bringing
What did she do?
projects. She brought a lot of business to
Oh,
UK.
basically,
film
like,
and-
thanks for all the tax revenue kind of thing.
I think so. Yeah.
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 The British government does that. Like,
They do.
Elton John retained his British citizenship, which meant they got all that tax money off of his music royalties. They're like, it's now Sir John, so whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, they do quite a bit of that, but
Yeah.
this is
Yeah,
going to make
and
everyone
now she's
happy.
Dame.
Now she's
now
a
she's
Dame.
Dame Kathleen.
She's a Dame.
Yeah, Dame.
They act. Oh my goodness. Oh goodness.
Because that's what I mean. And she's now part of the same company as Sir Alex Guinness.
Wow.
Awesome.
Let that settle. Let that settle in. Yeah.
Have they knighted or done whatever with J.K. Rowling?
They should. They might as well, right?
They should. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Why not? But the fandom menace is going to lose their damn mind, dude. They are.
I'm sure they're thinking.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're thinking
Oh.
they're lucky stars. They're like, man, it's been our channels have been kind of suffering because there's no cringe to really report on. Oh, thank you, Kathleen Kennedy's whatever.
Well,
I
maybe.
can get
Yeah.
at least 20 videos out of this.
Yeah,
Oh, sure,
I
dude.
feel like hundreds of hours of video content just got queued.
Yeah, absolutely. And the funny thing with it is as well, when you're talking about, since we're talking about Star Wars here with Kathleen Kennedy,
Yeah.
is you guys do realize that it's the last what is it, the Rise of the Skywalkers or whatever the hell it's called. It's supposed to come out in
Yeah.
December. They're still filming it. Actual principal photography is still going on. We're not talking about post production. We're talking about principal frickin' photography is still going on.
Right.
And they're 2 months out.
Uh-oh.
You've got to be kidding me. And they
Yeah,
still
yeah,
can't
and-
decide on 6 different endings. Well, that tells me you have no
7.
clue what
They're
you
re-
want. Oh no. Come
They're
on, dude.
They're reshooting 70. That's what the latest rumor is. Over 70%. Again, stress rumors.
Yeah, they're gonna have to push it back, dude. There's no way they're gonna be able to launch
And-
this in 2
and-
months.
Hold a sec, and think about this. If they're in such a crunch time and everyone's working, this chick has time to go get an award.
Well, she's not actually doing anything to make the movie, dude. She's just a boss, She's not actually responsible for anything that has to do with anything. But this is not good. It's really, really not good. The reason it's happening is because Disney is so desperate to save Star Wars. They're so desperate because even though you have a lot of these shill media are sitting there saying they've made their money back. No, they haven't. They most certainly haven't made that way overpriced $4.5 billion purchase of Lucasfilm and Star Wars. But you know what's happening here? The same thing that happened with Justice League, if you remember when we were covering that. Justice League, they did the same kind of crap at the very end, and we look how poor the production was, how much silly things were done in that movie because they just weren't ready to release it, but they released it anyway. Honestly, they should push it back a year. I mean, come on. I don't know. I don't know what to say, but it's this article itself is whatever. I suppose give her whatever you want. It's all a bunch of incestuous crap anyway. And Erodimus Flash is accusing me of something here. It says lies, Chester, lies. So is the modern Ernest. I hope so. I love Ernest though. Those are big boots to fill, brother.
And
Because,
Ernest was a classical trained actor.
He
just
was, and he
FYI.
was awesome. He was pure awesome. That's an American treasure. Sir. Anyway, anybody else have anything to say about this frickin' debacle that is Star Wars?
Well,
No.
yes. I'm really happy that I'm introducing a new sci-fi franchise.
Oh, there you go. Maybe you can profit off of it. But damn it, Dinale, you triggered me again. God,
Right.
What is
It's not
this
a show
crap in
unless you're
front of
triggered.
me? Next.
All right, so this is from Deadline. Kirk reveals the backstory of his firing from Mylan's MC, which he was doing great until FX was bought by Disney, and he was butting heads with the Disney corps about Tony and dumbing down the stories.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, yeah, this is the Disney's regime, and I got fired because I wouldn't comply with what they wanted.
Right.
The Disney brand and all that stuff. So he's kind of warning other people in the industry. He's like, hey, if you're working under Disney, you're going to have to either conform to, if you have existing property, you got to conform to what the Disney brand wants,
right,
or you're going to be let go.
Now, it's
and it was
true.
kind of,
It's true. But keep in mind, guys,
Yeah.
before we get too far ahead of ourselves, Mayans MC is a spin-off of Sons of Anarchy, right? And it's interesting to
Correct.
me because I didn't even know they were making one or had one out or anything like that. So
Yeah,
it's complete
3
news to
season.
me.
Yeah. So it's been, I think, 3 seasons now.
Wow.
And yeah, so, and he's like saying, down story, put PC restraints like, you can't say that. This is not appropriate. Everything that, they're using the Guinness Davis diversity spell check,
Mm-hmm.
where, go in a certain terms. And he was like, no, I'm not going to do it. And they basically said, okay, you're fired. you're replaceable. And he's like, well, that's the Disney regime. If you're going to be stifled with creativity if you're working for Disney.
Right. And it's a fair point from
Which
his
is
point
one
of
of the
view.
things that people warned about when this buying.
Yeah, but I mean, he's making a show about
When they bought.
Latino bikers. I mean, how can you possibly attach PC to it?
Right.
I don't understand.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, this is one of the things you
Right,
miss because I don't live in the
because
States, so
you're
I
putting
don't.
them in a negative.
Go ahead.
No. The problem is not hit the biker gang. The problem is it's showing the negative side of said biker gangs.
Because they're
and
Mexican.
showing some
White
action
boys doing
because,
bad stuff is expected. Can't pick on the
Yeah.
Mexicans. Is that what it is? Oh, I see.
Right.
All
There you
right.
go. Pretty much. And if you've seen Son of Anarchies, you know what type of tone and storylines and terms they use will translate over here to the spin-off because it's in the same universe, and to be consistent with that same universe, they're not totally PC about everything. They're more into the characters and into the story kind of deal.
Yeah, no, it's
whatever.
just outrageous
So, yeah.
thinking. Yeah. I mean, especially that's always, I always find that funny. You can't put Muslims in a bad light, and you can't put Hispanics in bad light. Even though in real life, when you go down to Mexico, or even worse, further south, you're going to run into some real corruption and to some real violence. Even worse that you can find in some of the bad areas in America, right? But can't be honest. Can't be that. No. Interesting. Anybody have any comments on this?
Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no?
I got a comment.
Okay.
I've seen Sons of Anarchy,
Mhm.
and what I've seen of 2 seasons of this show, it's such a watered down version of Sons of Anarchy. It's ridiculous. I mean, as an example, Sons of Anarchy, there was plenty of scenes where the guys had like orgies after a long days of hard work and killing and gun running.
Mhm.
These guys, they're sitting around drinking beer.
Yeah, well, maybe that's racism in and of itself. Awesome. Mr. Thundero says MS-13 doesn't exist, bigot. Not all Mexicans are like that, racist. Well, I know they're not. That's why so many of them are fleeing across the border into America. All right. Anyway, let's move on here. What is this? Someone's got to pay me what to do what?
Right. So if you wanted the dream job of working for Disney as a reviewer, well, now you can apply to reviewer.org. And if you get selected, you can get to watch 30 Disney movies in 30 days, and you get paid $1,000 to review all of them and give them positive, awesome reviews for the upcoming Disney Plus streaming. So when you look at the reviews and they're all positive, you know it's been paid and bought and watched.
Wow. And this is from the Insider.
Sign me up. Where do I go?
Yeah, right. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, the reviews website, reviews.org.
Wow.
And you have to be an Ultra Disney Ultra fan.
Ultra Disney Super Ultra fan. Wow.
Yeah, and don't forget to include how many followers you have. I'm pretty sure you need the bare minimum of 10,000 followers as well. But that, don't mind the fine print.
Right.
Yeah.
Actually, this little video down here on the page of the Insider is much more interesting to me than the article. If you guys want to get paid, go get paid. But Saturn is officially losing its rings, and they're disappearing much faster than science had anticipated. Yeah, well, this has been happening for a little while. And you know why? Interesting thing, why? Why? Hold on a second. Why? Because there's actually this thing is going on in our solar system. The sun is flaring up as it goes into a little bit of a slumber, and it's much hotter now. And all this global warming crap, it's actually not coming from anything men do. It's coming from the actual sun itself, and all the planets in our solar system are demonstrating it on a daily basis. Ha! Sorry.
Wow.
I'm not.
This would be considered what? The world's biggest divorce case?
What is that? George, moving on. Last article of today before we go back over. I don't know. I have no clue.
Who gets to keep the ring, I guess? I think he was making a joke about.
So
that's
but they're
where he went.
officially
Damn.
disappearing? Was there a question? Were they disappearing but it wasn't official before?
They've actually been disappearing for a while now. And it's simply because of the radiant heat coming out of the sun is bathing and heating everything up, and the entire solar system is heating up right now.
I don't believe that at all. I think there's a conspiracy covering this up. Oh, and yes, if you want to learn more about conspiracies, you can always join us right here on FanSpeak on Sundays for Tinfoil Talk.
That's right. Tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and tomorrow we're talking about business and government corruption. That's a big topic.
That's official.
Definitely be part of that. But we do enjoy having our TFT and our talking about conspiracies. It's a lot of fun. Although some people get really bent out of shape, though. I'm kind of surprised by it. Sensitive topics, man. Right?
Only flat earthers.
Yeah, God. They can't take a joke at all. But anyway, this is our last article before we jump back over to White Lilies. Dinale, lay it out.
All right. Bad timing on Disney. But they announced that with Tencent Publishing, they're going to publish an original Chinese Star Wars stories.
I couldn't believe it when I couldn't believe it when I saw this article, but it's true. No.
Oh no.
Oh goodness gracious! Now, what do you think it's going to be? Here now, let's just throw our thoughts around here. We got a bunch of people on the panel. We got a bunch of people in chat. So here we go. The Chinese government. Now keep this in mind. Tencent is controlled by the government, as are all things that are successful businesses outside of China. Understand that they can't be successful. They can't do their business outside of China unless they have the support of the communist government. And of course, the good thing about that is they'll throw a ton of money at them. They'll get them all. They'll throw them slave labor, which they do all the time, by the way. So any kind of these big purchases you're making, anything from little toys all the way up to wine, there's slave labor involved in it. But now this communist government, what exactly do you think they're going to do with Star Wars, which is about people rebelling against oppression? Huh?
Oh.
No. I'm expecting
That's
Wolf
exactly
Warrior
what the
2.
Communist Manifesto is all about.
I'm expecting
Communism is all about rebelling against the capitalistic system, the greediness of man.
There you go. What do you think, Preston?
Wolf Warrior 2. I'm predicting Wolf Warrior 2 with lightsabers.
Ooh, there we go.
Are you guys familiar with that one?
No.
Oh, okay. It was the highest grossing Chinese movie ever made.
Mhm.
It grossed like $5.5 billion or something like that, and it's basically an American action movie, and they consulted with the Americans to help them with the story and the fight choreography and all that. And so it's a decent movie. I mean, if you were to watch it, you would go, well, this is kind of cheesy, lame B movie, but the Chinese were like, yay, and it's all about the evil Americans that it's basically Rambo if Rambo was a Chinese guy and everybody he was fighting against was the evil American thug. So that's
So there,
they already have that model. Just add in some lightsabers, and I think you're golden.
Yeah. Well, there you go. DeWolf, excuse me, Dinale, you have an idea?
well, I was gonna say, well, there you go. Basically, it's gonna be the rebel communists against the
Trade
capitalist
Federation.
Trade
Right,
Federation.
right.
There you go.
Right.
And how they overcomes the Trade Federation
Right.
and bring back harmony to the whole place.
Yeah. No, you can totally take Star Wars and go Chinese with it.
Yeah.
You think?
I was going to say
Sure.
George Lucas would be rolling his grave, but he's still alive.
Yeah.
I think this is the most hilarious thing ever. It's almost as funny as having the Council for Women's Rights and Protection being led by Saudi Arabia. Yeah, it's
There
about
we
the
go.
same, really.
Love
Ooh, burn, sting. I wonder if
At
I'll
least they
get a
got one
copyright
thing
strike for
right.
that. What?
What? Nothing.
At least they got one thing. Oh, great. Thanks. But whatever. This hilarious
Just a
though.
bow.
Is absolutely hilarious. And I hope they do it. I hope they do. Because we know all the little socialists that are running around supporting China right now will stick their head up and say it's awesome, and the rest of the people in the world will say no, bad, Disney, bad. But hey, that's the world we're in today. So awesome. But let me come back over here to White Lily real quick and take a look at some of these perks. Now, Preston, with White Lily here, of course, we
Yes.
have the you have a digital again, which we applaud
Yes.
for $5. Good price, normal size
Yeah,
comic book, very nice.
I mispriced that one. It should have been 10, but for $5 you get PDF 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you get 4 PDFs of comic books for $5, which is a buck and a quarter each.
That's really cheap. Yeah, yeah. But I
It's
mean,
really
but
cheap.
it's good that you have that though.
Yeah.
It is good. Now, of course, we're coming up to the free shipping in
Yeah.
America with our junior
Yeah.
airmen. Oh, don't do that. I quit screwing up.
Okay. So yeah, you get for $8 you get the cover there on the left of
Mm-hmm.
her lighting the cigarette. You get that version delivered to your door, shipping included, $8.
And how do you go about
And-
getting the alternate cover?
That would be the next level up. But because I'm using backer kit and whatnot, because people ask, like, well, this is issue 4. I want issue 1, 2, and 3. Through the magic of backer kit, you can select those perks later, and I put a price list in there. So for the back issue, standard cover 1, 2, and 3, you can get those for $5 each. Meaning, if you pledge $23 on the $8 tier,
Mhm.
you will get issues 1 through 4 delivered for $23.
There you go. And of course, that is the great thing about Kickstarter is backer kit. And we
Yeah.
were talking about this earlier. Indiegogo needs to get on that. They need something like backer kit. Absolutely. Yeah, so it's cool. So you guys can add anything you want here. Do any add-ons with the backer kit after
Yeah.
the campaign. Yeah.
And
now,
then
go ahead.
yeah, and then down here, we've got the variant cover and this is both covers of the book now at $25.
Sweet. And you get the
Yeah.
2 copies, which everyone seems to like. So awesome. And that's free domestic shipping as well. Now,
Yeah.
how are you dealing with international shipping?
I charge money for it, and I'll ship
Well,
to
of
you
course,
internationally.
of course. Yeah, but
Yeah,
you-
and I think I charge somewhere around 22 to 23, which is what I'm paying. So
Yeah. No, it's about right. I'd say even
Yeah.
a little bit more, depending
yeah,
on where it's going.
and it's paying $22 to ship one comic is probably not worth it. But again, if you're getting issues 1, 2, 3, and 4, and for that matter, you can also throw in Guinevere and the Divinity. You can get 5 comic books shipped to you. Well, now the shipping's not so bad. But,
Okay, so you can get your other books as well. Oh, that's nice.
Yes, exactly.
Sweet. We got a $50 one here. What's this one about?
Oh, that's just for retailers.
Retailers.
I
Oh, okay.
I got to call up my local. I'm almost wondering, like, is it even worth comic book stores? I always have to bug the manager, like, hey, are you going to do the thing? And then after I dropped off White Lily 3 to the two retailers who backed it last time, and part of that is a signing. And I'm like, when are we going to do the signing? Oh, I'll get back to you. Like, I feel like the amount of time and effort I have to do into putting on a signing of these comic book stores is almost not worth it. I'm like, why the hell am I working with a local comic book store? But anyway, that's a retailer reward. And then at 65 is where we get the next consumer reward, and that's where you get a lenticular cover for issue 3,
Ooh.
both covers of issue 4, and the White Lily 4 T-shirt.
So, a T-shirt. And what do you have going on with the lenticular cover? What is the shifting aspect of it?
Yeah, I show it in the video, but the cover of issue 3 is Lily holding that German MP40 Schweitzer submachine gun while on the streets of Stalingrad, and as you shift the lenticular cover, it will shoot.
Oh, sweet.
Ooh.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That is nice. Yeah.
Wow, that sounds violent though.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's
Oh,
okay.
shooting guns.
It's a war
It-
comic.
We've been wanting
Oh.
that for years.
Are you making a joke about the new Amazon rule that's affecting people? Is that what you're doing?
I could very well be.
Yeah. Yeah, well, because you can't have guns pointing at anybody on the cover of anything now with Amazon, because they call it's violence, it's promoting violence and the horrible guns, right? So seriously,
Anything
but yet
guns.
you can go to the same page where they're not allowing you to do that, and you can come down to the recommended, and it has all of it in it anyway, right?
Right.
Stupid Amazon,
Yeah.
Mm. Antifa promotes violence.
right?
Then at 135, we got and 10 metal trading cards.
Ooh,
So
what size are they?
3x5.
Oh, nice, dude. I like the. I got the things from Mike
Or
Miller
what,
and
is
his
it
Lone
3 by
Star.
5? Yeah.
Those kind of comic page size metal cover art stuff. It's really nice. I like it.
Yeah. So yeah, you get 10 3x5 metal trading cards.
You know what I wish I could see on this page though, which I don't see anywhere, is the T-shirt, dude.
Oh, it's gonna be the white. I mean, I haven't printed it yet. That's why you don't see it.
Oh, I see.
But it's gonna be the White Lily for main cover with her lighting up,
Oh, I see. Okay.
lighting the cigarette. Yeah.
All right.
And
Ooh, we're
then
coming to some
going
big ones
down,
now, dude.
Yeah. So there you get the 10 metal trading cards, and an 11x17 metal print, and you get drawn into issue 5. So you get that
Ooh.
at 255.
See, they go there, Booster. You can get a little bit of fame.
Hmm?
You could be in a
Hooray.
comic
Yeah.
book,
Finally.
and people could finally see what you look like because you refuse to buy a camera and show us your face.
Oh. Pay me money for a camera and I'll do a dance for you even.
Oh, okay. Thundero, set it up. GoFundMe. We're going to get a camera for Booster. I'm sure we can get it
Awesome.
done in
Yeah.
a day.
Shit, play
Thundero, that's
pull
your
some sugar
job.
on
I
me.
put
I'll
you
do
in
the
charge
whole
of it.
I'll do a whole fucking striptease for you. Pardon
Whoa.
me.
Ding, bing, ding, ding. Goodness gracious.
I think I'm a little tired.
Wow.
Denali's going to get you for
Pardon
that,
me.
dude. He's going to get you. Okay, so we got the last one here for $550. Ooh, what's going on with that,
Yeah.
dude?
All right. So for this one, you get a custom cover of White Lily 4, which this I set up for artists. So if you can draw or something, you submit an image to me, and I get you 100 books of White Lily 4 that have that version of the cover on it, and you can sell those at comic shows and whatnot. And I give you, I'm not going to sell that version, so you have an exclusive right to sell 100 or more, depending on how many you want. Comics of White Lily 4 featuring your own custom artwork. You can set it at whatever price you want. So you get an exclusive cover. So like a comic book store might want to do that, or an artist and an up-and-coming comic book artist might want to do that. And I already had one backer at the early bird, and the early bird reward added on the bonus and you get a lifetime right to reorder. So.
Oh, wow, that's cool. Yeah. That's interesting. I don't think I've ever seen anyone do that, actually. We see a lot of people, you get an original piece of art or something like that,
Right.
but that's different. That's different.
I'm always thinking.
There you go. You should be. And of course, we have some things that are gone already, and of course,
Yeah.
they're gone, so they're gone.
But yeah,
But
if you go all to the bottom, you'll see that somebody got the $550 reward in the early bird style. So.
Good
yeah,
for
there you
them.
go. All right, dude. Yeah, no, guys, this is a very good looking project. Of course, we've been following with White Lily. We suggest you guys go and take a look at it. Keep in mind that even if you don't back it, even at the digital level, you can at least share it out. Let your community know, and let them come in and they can take a look at it and make their own decisions. But he's very close to being funded,
Yeah.
and he's got 17 days left. So let's get the word out and do what we do. So awesome. Do you have anything last final to say about it before I come back over?
No, it was great. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, awesome. We just lost your audio a little bit for some reason.
Okay.
But
I said thank you very much for having me on. I love it.
wow, that's weird. We lost his audio. Could barely hear him. Something happened.
Oh.
I hear him
Dinale, can I
perfect.
hear you? Speak to me.
Yeah, I can hear
I think it's you,
and I can
Chester.
hear.
It's just you,
Yeah, I
Chester.
think it's you.
It's just me. All right, cool. Well,
Mhm.
I'll just turn up
It's
my
not
volume.
me, it's you.
It usually is. It is what it is. I don't have to do that today. All right. Well, thank you very much for being here, Preston. Thank you to all the panelists, of course. Thank you to all the people in the chat. We really love you guys coming on and having conversations with you and all the things we do. Do keep in mind that tomorrow, of course, is TFT, Tinfoil Talk, and we will be talking about the corruption of government and business corruption it is and the conspiracies around it. So that's going to be a lot of fun, and there's so many things to talk about with that. And of course, starting out into next week, we have all our normal stuff. We got a couple of guests too, I think. But also keep in mind that here in about, 12 hours or so, I'm going to be doing the Coffee Akihabara on Indicom TV. So definitely come over and check that out. That should be a lot of fun. But other than that, thank you very much, Preston. Thank you, guys. And
Thank you.
Denali, take us out of here.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for this FanSpeak. Thank you for our guest for talking about his White Lily project. Share it out or back it if you're interested and the story compels you to find out what's going to happen. Enjoy the Immortal Mass newsletter at dinalescomics@gmail.com. Just send me an email saying, hey, I want to be in the newsletter, and you will be in the newsletter. But as always, your perception shapes your reality, so always make it a good one.
Namaste.
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 Gesundheit.
Later, guys.
Awesome.
Aloha.